I wrote this poem. I wrote it about a research project I'm doing on the African Burial Ground, which is downtown in Manhattan, and it's basically just, yeah. So it's a poem about a buried, like a picture of a burial. In the glow of the summer moonlight, fireflies dapple the low air and rise to the sky, where sparks of scarlet and tongues of amber faded hours ago from the flint of the western horizon into violet, dark as the grave and blue as the sea, beside the newly turned earth. A child, calloused hands wrapped about knobby knees, staring, brown eyes on black earth, dark and warm, as it would never be, as it would always be, and never be again. High above her head, twice alive, in the pond and in its mirror in the sky, the Little Dipper overflowed with night. Beyond the sounds of darkness, the din of a long-dead dusk still echoed in her head, calls of remembrance and a mournful harmony of voices, rising even as the white sun fell to the fire, burning through the dark lungs they issued from. They'd known her mother, known the wrists where the salt-sprayed shackles scarred her, known the feet that shambled onto Manhattan shore 19 years ago, had known her by the man who bought, branded, and bedded her, who gave her 3 children to call hers, and hers alone, taking her life with the last, and dying in fevered delirium with the second. The man carved into a headstone and buried in a churchyard, away from her mother forever. They'd known that second, too, a boy, a son, strong and stubborn, who used to love, as she did, to trace the furrows in their mother's hands, small fingers wandering like rivers over creases and cuts, burns and bruises that built and bore everything that resembled home. He was gone now, too, without ever having said a word, too little to speak, or to cry out, or to beg not to go. 11 months and he followed his mother. And the third, who never breathed, nor slept, nor cried, nor heard her name, but came into the world to lead the life that gave her life away. They'd buried them here, hours ago, in a haze of sunset and skin tones, one void in the earth to hold them, one coffin for all she'd ever loved. As she hugged her knees to her ribs, she hoped that it was somewhere better than this, better than waking at dawn and dying with the dusk, better than broken skin and crooked scars, someplace quiet as her mother's eyes and warm as her brother's smile, somewhere through the damp earth buried beneath the sky. Newly replaced, the soil looked as though something had been put there to grow, heaven married to the darkness of earth. Closing her eyes, she could still see her mother, glowing faintly with the life she had meant to bear, strong hands urging her away, pushing her on her own legs, stiff and swaying like branches in the wind. That had been the first time she'd walked alone. Standing, the child stared once more at the grave, fireflies blazing around her and the dim stars twinkling overhead. Her roots buried now, she would have to grow up and grow away. With one life buried and gone, there was nowhere else to grow. As she walked away from the threefold grave, pain flowed like the chirping of crickets and the lapping of the lake and the gravity of the grave through her legs and against her bones, and she knew by its ache that she was alive. In her absence, the summer swelled, the white stars shivered, and the silver moon soared, and the black sky pressed itself into coal to burn against the flint in the east, as it has always done. And the quiet grave warmed the dead inside, and the night filled once more with darkness.